I grew up with my parents and my siblings just outside Copenhagen. I really liked going to school. I liked most of the subjects and I was doing really well. Except in the sports lessons at school. There was a good reason for me not being good at sport when I was finally diagnosed when I was 18. I had actually been partially sighted most of my time at school without anybody finding out. I started skiing in a way it happened a bit by accident because I started studying psychology. No blind Dane had ever been allowed to study psychology, but I was fighting really hard to get the chance, and in the end they just said, okay, if you want to break your neck on studying psychology, it's fine with us, you can have a try. So I tried and I really liked it. It was a really right subject for me. And after half a year I really needed a break. And I didn't have much money, so I was wondering, how do I get a break? Get away on holiday with not very much money. I went to Norway and I thought, well, I guess you can go on a skiing holiday without going skiing. That was my plan. And then I ended up at Ridderrennet. When I got my cross-country skis on and I was put down in the track, it was just like putting a train on the track. And I could just follow the track completely safely, because normally when I go around with my stick, the world is full of stairs and light poles and dogs and trolleys and all signs and all sorts of things you bump into constantly. But in the ski track, there's nothing but the ski track. Not even a little tree, because every time there's a tree, the tracks go around the tree. So I thought, this is really fun.
I remember her, she came back the year after and she was so enthused, she was so inspired, and I think there was a change in her life from that meeting at Beitostølen at the Ridderrennet.
And there you could also try biathlon, and I was very fascinated by that.
Anne-Mette is a person, she is blind, but I don't think of her as blind. I mean, I can ask Anne-Mette to do things and I have to maybe help her, but no, she is so independent. When you work closely with Anne-Mette, you don't really think of her as having a disability that for us is an enormous disability. She tackles it so well.
In a world of fascination, there's more than meets the eye.
We trained for 10 weeks and then we went to Vancouver and I managed to qualify for Paralympics. Skiing on a sunny day can be really nice, but it can also be really difficult because it tends to give a lot of slush in the tracks.
I just love this sport. The competitions are great. You get to meet a lot of people. You travel around the world. You see a lot of new things. But most of all, I just love the skiing.
Monica is a better skier than me, definitely, and she has to be. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. She has to be better at skiing uphill. She has to be better at skiing downhill. She has to be better skiing at the flat parts. And on top of that, she also needs to be able to talk all the time. and she has to make a lot of decisions. She has to look back to see if I'm doing what I'm supposed to doing, or have to go more to the left or more to the right. And people, it can be quite hectic during competitions. She has to make the right decisions.
Anne-Mette had a guide. He couldn't keep up with her in a world championship, and she needed a new guide. And she came to me and said, "Can you ski? I've heard that you can ski." I said, "Yes, I can ski." So then we tried skiing, and yeah, it worked out. I had just stopped my own career, so it was perfect. I stopped when I was 20 years old, so it was a short career. My best result was in 1996 when I was silver medal in the Norwegian championship for juniors. Now I can do what I love to do with the skiing. I don't need to be a top athlete. I have to train to keep in good shape, but I also have time for my family, my job.
A guide never warns you about obstacles. She only tells you what to do. We don't have time for descriptions. So she, for instance, she says, go to the right or go to the left, or she can say stop. And if she says stop, I don't start. Why do I need to stop? I just stop because I know there's a good reason for stopping. And if she tells me to go to the right, it might be because somebody is going to pass me or I'm going to pass somebody else. So she has to make decisions, and she all the time tells me what to do. She has to tell me three major things. There's three major jobs as a guide. She has to tell me if it's left or right, if it's up and down, and how far.
We use numbers mostly, so for telling her about left and right, 12 is right ahead, so we use the clock. The 1 is a little bit to the right, 2 a little bit more, 3 a lot more, and then we have 11, 10 and 9 for left curves. For uphills we use 20, that's a little bit uphill, 30 is more, and 40 that's really steep. And for downhills we have 60 and 70. So, and then you have to combine them. If you have 60, 11, it's a little bit down and to the left.
When I found out that I was going to lose sight, I decided I was going to travel. But I didn't have much money, so I had to find cheap ways of traveling. So I traveled mainly Europe, but I also went to Israel, where I spent a year, and I went to Canada. I had a small tunnel vision, and as soon as it got a little bit dark, what appears a little bit dark for other people, it became very completely black to me. So it was night very quickly when there's just a little bit of light. So that made it difficult to navigate. Suddenly, while I was still in Canada, my eyesight deteriorated. So first I didn't really want to admit it, but in the end I realized that now my sight was going, so I had to go back home and started dealing with it in a different way, learning all the practical things you need to learn once you don't have the sight to help you out. And one of the difficult things I remember was learning to use the white stick. Not because it's difficult to navigate with the white stick, but in the beginning I felt it really embarrassing. But now I was in a situation where I had no choice. I had to show other people that I had a problem. We have to use some time to get used to the guns, because the guns are a little bit different from the one I train with at home. The tones are a little bit different, and each gun are different, so it's good to try many different guns so you're prepared for getting a different gun. Some guns has a very clear center, because when I shoot, when I'm far away, it sort of says beep, 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 and when I get closer, it says beep, 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 beep. And if this is very clear, when you hear that one, you know, I have the center. Then it's just to hold still and shoot.
It's been snowing a lot.
Yesterday she has this new command where she said slush, lots and lots and lots of slush. And then you have to be really determined, because otherwise you're going to fall. And we don't have time for too many falls.
Lett 60.
10 meter i 10, 12, 12, 11, 10, 70, 10, 10.
It makes it difficult in the, especially when you come with lots of speed and has to do some sharp turns, because then it's easy to lose balance, especially when you can't see the slush and where it's a good idea to put the ski down. So that's an extra challenge that we have as visually impaired. My disability have also brought me a lot of opportunities. I've experienced lots of good things, but I think the highlight must be when I won the first Danish Olympic gold medal in '94, because that was so surprising for me. I grew up, thought I was the most clumsy kid and that I couldn't do any kind of sport. And by accident I got introduced to it in Norway at Ridderrennet, and found out to my big surprise that I could do sport. But I never thought I could qualify for the Paralympics. And then I qualified for the Paralympics, but I never thought I could win a medal. And here I was, the first Dane to win a gold medal. That was completely amazing. So from just being me, coming home, suddenly I was on the front pages of magazines and was in television, and that was very big. When I got to know Paul, I was already a skier, and it got more and more serious just during the time where we were just friends. Things progress very slowly. Paul is a person that thinks a lot before he makes a move.
So I don't make decisions quickly. So it was one of many things to think about. But on the other hand, unless you're extremely prejudiced, then the fact that somebody may be blind doesn't affect who they are.
Suddenly in 2000 we started dating. So he was thinking carefully for 9 years before he invited me out. So what brought me to London, I guess that's the man with the hat out there. It was Paul. He lived in London and I was living in Biathlon, working as a clinical psychologist. And it became quite expensive in phone bills and traveling forth and back to see each other. The good thing about living in London is that that has meant I've taken up rowing. What is good about rowing is that it builds up your stamina, and you use pretty much the same muscles as you do in cross country.
Picking it up a little bit.
It's a little scary, and you get challenged on balance and height and losing your foothold. And after I've been studying philosophy and neuropsychology and all that heavy stuff, then it's really nice to go here and do something completely weird and different. Even though I think I'm the only one here that's more than 9-year-old. But I don't care. I still think it's fun. More people should try it. I think here in the UK they try to do something about awareness of people with disabilities, and I think the statue down in Trafalgar Square with a pregnant woman who's also disabled, send a very strong message. You don't normally see statues of disabled people, except when you see the old Greek statues. They look quite disabled because they usually don't have arms and legs. But people don't think about them as disabled people. So the fact there was a disabled person sitting there in the middle was reminding people that there's disabled people, and some of them choose to have children. I don't know if we will have children. I would like to have children. Paul is not completely sure yet. So there's many things to consider, because having a disability doesn't make it any easier when you think on the practical side of having a child. But I'm sure that it will work out. It has been working out for other people, so why shouldn't it work out for us if that was what we wanted to do? In the fall of 2007, my shape was really, really good. So we were looking forward for me to compete.
Her competitions weren't going as well as she expected.
It turned out that I was actually 4.5 months pregnant. and I was still competing in the World Cup. And I had to call Paul, who was in London at that time. I said, Paul, there's something I need to tell you.
There was no question then that I had to move to Norway because she was, and in fact still is, doing her doctorate, which is due to finish this year. And it works best for her to be in Norway to be able to do that.
And because I work as a clinical psychologist and a researcher and a teacher, then I think it's important for me that I don't look more disabled than necessary. And when I'm wearing my glasses, it's more calm for me, and it's also nicer for other people because they feel they can see my eyes. But wearing my glasses make it more comfortable. So that's why I'm wearing those glasses.
To receive the news that she had really gone through such a difficult, very, very dangerous episode, it was very shocking.
9 months ago, I didn't know if I would ever be able to ski again. Here I am in my 6th Paralympics, and sometimes I wonder, how did that happen? I woke up in the morning, I thought, uh-oh, this is about time. So I couldn't sleep anymore, so I went into the living room, and I think it was 6:30, Paul came to see what had happened to me, and I said, I think it's time. So in the afternoon I said, I think we better go to the hospital now. 5 hours after we arrived at the hospital, Marcus was born, and of course it was painful, but it went okay.
The fact that she was an athlete meant that she had quite an easy pregnancy, a lot easier than other people that we know.
Everything was quite normal just after the delivery.
But after 20 minutes after I gave birth, suddenly I felt really ill.
And she had extremely strong pains in the upper part of the abdomen. So I called my doctor straight away, and she came, and I remember quite well that she did not believe me, that I was quite worried about Anne-Mette because she had extreme pain. So she went into the room and she ordered some medication to take away heartburn. Yes, which did not help at all, naturally, because it had nothing to do with that. But I insisted to take some blood tests, which we did, and they were quite abnormal. At the same time, we had, of course, checked the blood pressure, which was really very high and going up all the time. So the doctor then ordered her to move into intensive care.
And Paul was left with a 20 minutes old baby, sitting there not knowing where they took me or what happened for the next 12 hours, so it was a tough start for him.
He slept on my chest all night, skin-to-skin contact and all that, and sucking away at my little finger, or actually both little fingers, not at the same time. And boy, could he suck.
Anne-Mette was critically ill, and I was worried about her, and also it was just so sad that I had to split the small family. And she had to go to intensive care, being away from the baby and her husband, and not knowing what's going to happen within the next hours.
She had a syndrome called HELP, which is HELLP in capitals, It's related to preeclampsia. It's quite rare, but people do die from it.
The doctor told me that if I hadn't been in such a good shape, then they weren't sure that I would have made it. But luckily I was in a very good shape, and luckily I was really, really stubborn. And the doctor can do 30%, and 70% is how much willpower you've got. And I thought, 20 minutes is not enough. I want to experience my kid and get to know him. So I'm not ready to go, and I promised Paul that, okay, we're going to be parents, but he's not going to be a single parent, so I just did all I could to hang in there.
So I'm very glad that Anne-Mette is around, and she's very glad that she's around to see Marcus.
I saw heaven in your eyes. Won't you take me there with you? There's nowhere on the earth I'd rather be. You'd be right when I am wrong. I'd be strong where you are not. We'd hold it all together at the seams. Love is the earth set in motion. Love is the space between time where I wanna be.
I become a mother, and I've got Marcus, and sometimes I was thinking, I wish I could see him. I know he's a great kid, and I've felt him, and we have a lot of close bodily contact, but there's things I miss out on, which I think sometimes I wish I could see, like what he's actually doing and his facial expressions, and I wish I could see it, and that hurts a little bit. Marcus, he's born into a family where he has two parents, of which one has a disability, but I don't think Marcus experienced that I have a disability. He just experienced that dad is like this and mom is like that. One of his best toys are my stick. It was quite funny when he was younger and was trying to learn how to climb stairs. He insisted on climbing stairs using my stick. He's already a very good helper. He finds things that I have dropped on the floor, or find my shoes, or if I can't remember where I put my glasses. Then he's so proud once he has found my glasses.
Kan du se det næste billede? Øj, her er Odd Michaels mor, og hun har nogle flotte briller. Kan du se, har hun briller på? Ja. Har hun briller på? Ja. Har Odd briller? Ja, jeg har briller. Har den der dame også briller på? Mm. Hvor er brillerne henne? Der briller. Det er brillerne. Ja. Yeah.
So I gave birth the 20th of July, and it wasn't until after Christmas I was allowed to start doing any sorts of training.
She wasn't as completely able to sail over obstacles as she was before.
And then we had 10 weeks to get me back in some sort of shape before we went to Vancouver for the Paralympics.
I knew that she couldn't compete on a top level, so we had no expectations of the results.
And we went to Vancouver, and I managed to qualify for Paralympics. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
She's able to have pain, and she's tough. And in cross-country skiing, it's painful. Competing is painful.
It's been a long struggle to recover. She's probably not 100% even now.
We were racing this course last year, so I know exactly what's happening. I have to adjust to the snow condition that's going to be on the day we compete. We go out and go a little bit downhill, and then I know there's an uphill coming, and halfway up there's a left turn. And it started out really well. I got to the shooting and I had 3 quick hits, and then I started thinking, and I wanted so much to continue doing well, and then I had 2 misses. I went the second round and I had a fall. When I fall, I'm only concentrating on getting back up and hearing where Monica is and keep going. And I came into my second shooting and I completely messed it up and had 4 mistakes for the first time in my life, I think, which was very frustrating because my skiing was going really well, but my shooting were really poor, unfortunately. My sport has helped me a lot in managing my life. Being in a good shape is really important when you have a disability, because you use a lot of energy on completely basic things that other people don't think about.
Yeah, I wish I could wake up and do it all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to do better on Wednesday.
Well, of course you will.
Yeah. I'm never going to make 6 mistakes again.
Hvornår skal du så igen? Onsdag.
Yeah. So, Marcus? No, when I got into the finish and I was really disappointed, and I thought, well, at least I got Marcus. He's worth more than a medal, but I wouldn't mind getting both. So I'm going to try really hard on Wednesday. And if I don't get a medal, I still have Marcus, so that's good. And Paul. Det skal jeg gøre. See you later. Yeah. Hej hej.
When I started my second race, I really wanted things to go better than the first race. And I managed to do really well at the shooting. I was the best shot of the day. I had 19 out of 20 hits as the only one. But unfortunately, 4 kilometers from the finish line, I had a serious fall where I broke my ski. So I managed to finish with a broken ski with a badly injured knee that later needed operation. But I still managed to finish 7th. I remember I was out skiing at Ridderrennet, and I had Marcus in a pulling him, and Paul was skiing next to me, and we were out there and the sun was shining and snow was nice, and I was pulling my son, and my husband was next to me, and it was really nice, and I thought, oh, how lucky I am, because 9 months ago I didn't know if I would ever be able to ski again. So, and here I was back on the skis, back in the tracks, enjoying life.
I've been thinking in all directions, waiting for the light to shine. In a world of fascination, there's more than meets the
I